Hi everybody, welcome to episode 16 of the Photography Explained podcast. In this episode, take more interesting photos. I'm your host Rick, and each week I will try to explain one photographic thing to you in plain English in less than 10 minutes without the irrelevant details. My aim is to explain things in just enough detail to help us with our photography and no more. And I hope to not make any mistakes on this one and we'll have a nice clean run because I'm feeling confident and quite happy for this recording. How do we all take more interesting photos? Well, here's the answer. I explained that in the last episode. Blame it on the Google. To take more interesting photos, you need to think about your subject matter, what you're photographing and why. You need to come up with the most interesting composition you can and execute the image capture correctly. But the most important thing is what you're photographing and how you compose the image. Now, in the last 3 episodes of my podcast, I have gone into compositioning. Well, not a huge amount of detail. As I hope you've worked out by now, detail isn't my middle name. Without the irrelevant detail, it should be my middle name. No, I have a short attention span. I just need to know what I need to know, not too much more, and I'm fine. Okay, let's look at this in a little bit more detail. Not too much, mind. Number 1, think about your subject matter. It helps if you photograph things that you like. Now, I like photographing buildings and construction sites. Probably not a bad thing that I make my living as an architectural and construction photographer, so that's a good thing. I also like photographing the sea, but let's be honest, who doesn't like the sea? Apart from someone who's scared of the sea, that is. Yep, think about your subject matter, and the point that comes out of this as the cogs in my brain is, I firmly believe that you will take better photos of something that you're interested in. So, photograph things you want to photograph. It's a great way of practicing because you'll be enjoying doing it, and you'll also enjoy processing the images rather than just going out and doing something that you hate. Well, who'd do that? For me, that scenario is photographing a wedding. Scares the living daylights out of me. Think about your subject matter. Next one's quite a difficult one, but hopefully this will make sense. Imagine a stranger looking at your photo. What would they think? Someone who doesn't know you. They don't know that you walked for 74 hours in bare feet over broken glass and hot coals to get to the picture I'm just going to stop there, you get the idea. Somebody looking at your photo does not know what it means to you, how much you've gone through to get the photo, how important it is, how long you spent processing it in Lightroom, Photoshop, Luminar, other software is available. A stranger looking at your photo cares about one thing and one thing only. And this is why I've been going on about composition so much. All they care about is what they can see. Imagine a stranger looking at your photo. Why should they be interested in it? Why should they like it? What makes them not like it? These are great questions. Very hard to do a self-critique. Next point. Find interesting things to photograph. Now, there's a good way of doing this. It's another of my high-tech, expensive suggestions. Go for a walk. Go for a walk anywhere. Some woods, park, town centre, anywhere. Just go for a walk and look. In the last episode, I made the point that when you're trying to choose a composition, don't walk around with your camera against your eye. Walk around with your camera ready, but just use your eyes. Go for a walk. Find something that you want to photograph. You should have an idea by knowing what you want to photograph, where you need to go, if you need to go anywhere. I do talk a lot as though you're all taking landscape photos. I do realise that's not the case, but all I photograph is buildings, landscapes, travel locations. I once came up with a really good tagline: buildings, nice places, and buildings in nice places. So I'm coming from that position, but principles will still stand. We're talking about taking more interesting photos, so finding interesting places to photograph is a great thing. Don't photograph boring things. Example is that I went to my local woods. They're a mile away from where I live. Never been to them before. I have told the tale carrying about 38 kilos of camera gear, but I got some great photos. This leads you on to my next point of check the weather. Go out when you got some interesting weather. Now, interesting weather is not blue skies and sunshine. For photographers, it's okay, but it's not interesting. Cloudy weather, mist, fog, snow, sleet, hail, even rain. Yep, even rain. You can't take your camera out, it won't melt in water, trust me. Just buy a microfiber cloth, put it over your camera and you're fine. Buy a rain sleeve, costs about £3 or £4 and you're fine. Obviously you'll need to wear a coat as well. But weather makes landscape photos, outdoor photos, nature photos, travel photos, call it what you will. Architectural photos, And obviously the weather depends on where you are. Now I live in England, so our weather is 75% rubbish. So we have to factor the weather into our photographs or change the sky later, one for another time. Time of day. I'll come on to this in the next episode, so I'm not going to spend too long on this one now, but basically you can get a great photo at any time of the day. You can also get a rubbish photo at any time of the day. I take it as read that the exposure, focus and everything else will be correct. That's a given in photography. No excuse these days. And if you've got difficult light, just do bracketing. I'll explain that in an episode rather soon, hopefully, because it's something I want to get over to people. Taking more interesting photos. Composition. Think about the composition. Think about what you're photographing. If you're new to my podcast, if you go back to the last episode, and the one before that, and the one before that, I talk a lot more about composition. The most important part of a photo is the photo itself. Now, number 9, something that I am not very good at, that I always mean to do but never get around to. Look at other photographers' work. Now, great photographers are great photographers for a reason. Normally, it's because they take great photos. There are some great photographers who are great marketers and not great photographers, but hey, that's not a criticism. If I could be a great photographer and take rubbish photos but great at marketing, I'd be more than happy. Look at other photographers' work. Just, I don't know, just go on the internet, Google images, find sites with famous photographers on, have a look. I have an Ansel Adams calendar. That's the first word I got seriously wrong in this episode, and I'm 8 minutes in, so that's a big improvement. I have an Ansel Adams calendar, not colander, in my office, and I look at that on a daily basis, and it depresses me that I couldn't have taken that photo, as simple as they look. Last point, take more interesting photos. I'm almost reluctant to say this, but I had to acknowledge the fact that it's the 2020s, soon to be 2021s. Social media, put photos on there and see if people like them, ignore them, or hate them. This is a very good barometer of the instant society. Like I say, not a fan of it myself. That's probably because I'm quite old. So yeah, chuck things out on social media, see how many thumbs up, likes, whatever else you get. Okay, that's it. Nothing too technical. Just common sense, good old-fashioned advice. Can't beat it. So what's next on the Photography Explained podcast? What time of day is best to take photos? I gave you a little clue earlier on that one. Okay, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave a nice review and rating wherever you get your podcast from, and please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you could also tell everyone you know about me and my podcast, that would be even better. You can also check out my website, rickmcavoyphotography.com. Want me to answer a question and let me know at my website. And that's me done. Running out of time. I've been Rick McEvoy. Thank you again for listening and giving me 10 minutes of your day. I'll hopefully see you on the next episode. Cheers from me, Rick.